For the past several years, we've heard rumor after rumor, report after report, usually from quite unreliable sources, that we promised, guys, 6 years ago, Kathleen Kennedy, she's going to be fired. It's imminent. It's happening. And the Civil War, and Bob Iger's had enough. Then Bob Chapek's had enough. Then Bob Iger once again has had enough. However, it feels a little bit different when a report about Kathleen Kennedy leaving Lucasfilm is coming from the Hollywood trade, specifically the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, right? When it's coming from there, it feels a little bit different because it is a little bit different, especially when some of these companies, when some of these outlets who have been protecting Disney, been protecting Kathleen Kennedy, been protecting them for years and years, start running with this story. But that's exactly what we saw a few days ago. Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy expected to retire this year. The prolific producer has presided over the Star Wars and Indiana Jones franchises through ups and downs since 2012. I don't know what the ups necessarily are, a plural of ups. It's been mostly downs from everything that I can remember, but hey, what do I know? Now, I have said for years and years and years, even when I got caught up in some controversy about some fake reports and fake news bullshit rumors, that I felt Kathleen Kennedy was never going to be fired. And in fact, that she was going to leave whenever she was ready. Because let's face it, she is getting up there in age. She's been there at 13 years at Lucasfilm. And she's 71, will be 72 in June. So it's not like she's a spring chicken, if you couldn't tell by the way that she looks. But interestingly enough, in one of the reports that are out there, this one from Variety, they had a little something different to report about this rumor, about this report that's out there. Star Wars boss Kathleen Kennedy planning to exit Lucasfilm at the end of 2025. They talk about the story, but they also say that a separate source close to Kennedy dismissed the initial report by Puck as pure speculation and said nothing has been decided. And that's where all of this is coming from. It's coming from Puck News. Now, there might be some people that aren't very familiar with Puck News, and I don't necessarily blame you. I wouldn't put them up on my list of, the go-to entertainment source. However, when it comes to Matthew Belloni and Puck News, Matthew Belloni is a former editor of The Hollywood Reporter who went on to go start Puck News. And he is also the one who came out with the story from nearly 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, when so much hype was surrounding some more of these bullshit rumors about her getting fired, that in fact her contract had been extended. He was the first person to report that 3 or 4 years ago. So that's, I think, another thing that is leading to this getting the type of energy it's getting from the trades, including a laundry list of people who might replace this woman. So we might as well get into it, get into at least the entertainment trades idea of who might replace Kathleen Kennedy. But before we even get into that, I just want to point something out. I've seen a lot of people celebrating this news, this idea that Kathleen Kennedy might finally be gone. And I get it, right? Kathleen Kennedy should not have had this job. She was not qualified. She's done a piss poor job. She should have been fired ages ago, but she wasn't. Instead, if this report is true, and even if this report turns out not to be true by the end of the year, she is going to step away and retire and be celebrated whenever she's ready. I don't really see it as much of a win. I don't really see it as much of a victory. This is a woman who has presided over the destruction of Disney Star Wars. And a lot of the names that are out there set to replace her have been a part in destroying Star Wars and producing dog shit content in the Disney Star Wars universe. So, although when it comes to being meme-worthy and funny that somebody so hated by so many people might finally be gone, it's not like she was given the boot. It's not like she was kicked out. If all of this goes down the way that it's been explained, that she's going to retire because she's getting old, that's not a win. It's not a victory. In fact, it's just incredibly sad that that's the current state of Disney Star Wars, that someone who'd done such a poor job, who had driven so many fans and audience members away, was allowed to keep their job through this entire time. And a lot of the people who might be in line to replace her, like pieces of shit fucks like Dave Filoni, have created some of the worst Star Wars in history. The idea that his name is being thrown out there, he might replace her. That doesn't make Star Wars any better. Just look at some of the shit that him and Jon Favreau have come out with over the past several years. But let's get into who people in the entertainment industry think could replace Kathleen Kennedy. Who wants to call the shots on Star Wars? No, really, because it's kind of a thankless job. And this is what I mean. The trades that are running with this, they are the ones who have been protecting Kathleen Kennedy forever and ever and ever. Even they are now reporting on this story. Of course, the intergalactic franchise is sacrosanct as a cultural institution. So the president of Lucasfilm, home to Star Wars and Indiana Jones, has been one of the most prestigious posts in Hollywood. But there's also the reality they'll be trolled on social media, parodied on South Park, and criticized as too woke, too corporate, too slavishly devoted to George Lucas's vision, or too willing to depart from Jedi canon. And whoever gets the job will be taking over the low point, the low point, motherfuckers, in one of the cinema's biggest and most beloved franchises. Powers that be a Disney-owned empire haven't managed to get a film off the ground in 6 years. An eternity in today's hyperactive culture. Think about that. Kathleen Kennedy has not been able to put a movie together. It will be 7 years by the time Mandalorian and Grogu comes out. 7 fucking years. This is the person who is in charge of managing all of these projects. Can't get it done. And the movies that have appeared in the decade plus since Disney acquired Lucasfilm for $4 billion have been an exercise in diminishing returns, both financially and critically. Meanwhile, Disney Plus spin-off television shows like The Acolyte have been unceremoniously canceled after just 1 season. And yet, within hours of reports that Kathleen Kennedy will step down as president of Lucasfilm at the end of 2025, execs, creative talent, and mega producers were scrambling to get on the radar of Disney CEO Bob Iger and Disney Entertainment co-chair Alan Bergman. There are only so many of these jobs to be had after all, and cracking the code on Star Wars could mean wielding a Kevin Feige-like influence in entertainment. Ironically, there have been some whispers and rumors, and I have no idea how valid they are. Probably not at all, about Kevin Feige potentially coming there. Man, if that had been announced in 2019, could you imagine the hype level over Kevin Feige leaving the MCU to go take over Disney Star Wars? Now it feels a little bit different after the downfall of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but nevertheless, that is a name people have been talking about a little bit. And because Kevin Feige is a Star Wars fan, because Kevin Feige did want to make a Star Wars movie and Kathleen Kennedy specifically shut him down, there might be an axe to grind there. And maybe Kevin Feige is ready to be done over at Marvel. But the successful applicant must offer a very particular set of skills. Foremost, deep relationship with artists and auteurs. That's critical because under Kennedy's, Star Wars has cycled through a wide range of A-list filmmakers. Yeah, a lot of people who were fired mid-project or who were told this they could have something then didn't get it, or something that didn't get off the ground. They've ruined a lot of their relationships with creators because of Kathleen Kennedy's poor leadership. From Phil Lord and Christopher Miller to Patty Jenkins, David Benioff, D.B. Weiss, whose movies were announced then abandoned. Not to mention the litany of in-demand talent like James Mangold, Taika Waititi, Donald Glover, and Rian Johnson, whose space opera-centric spinoffs have yet to materialize. The fact that Rian Johnson's in this list and not that list is really fucking pathetic. Kennedy's never had trouble attracting top directors, but keeping them employed has been an ongoing challenge. They talk about the Rogue One, Gareth Edwards reshoots, stuff like that. Whoever gets the Lucasfilm gig will have to offer an expansive vision for it to take the 48-year-old franchise. Star Wars almost 50. That's crazy. One that involves streaming as well as a more consistent output of movies. There's been an unintentional 7-year gap between movies, just like we talked about. The last feature film to hit the screens, the upcoming The Mandalorian and Grogu, a continuation of the Disney Plus show. Even Disney's own MCU has been shit lately. I'll save you some words. Star Wars, one of the original great legacy stories with as much potential as any of the great action science fiction stories, says David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research. Has it been overdeveloped, underdeveloped? At this point, it's sprawling and impossible to quantify. Mandalorian Grogu will be the first new theatrical release in a lifetime. Let's see how it lands. So the perfect candidate must offer more than a passive interest. Like Marvel's boss Feige, they must be deeply versed in the mythology that Lucas established with 1997's original Star Wars: A New Hope. We have to talk about this because Kathleen Kennedy had nothing to do with Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy was brought on in the months leading up to the Disney purchase to run it. Now, I heard some whispers and reports that that was kind of a last-minute thing that wasn't necessarily expected. Kathleen Kennedy has no great love for Star Wars or experience in the Star Wars universe. She was the worst person to hand this off to. Now, I'm not saying that to be the president, to be managing all these things, you have to know more about Star Wars than any other person in history. But you have to be familiar. You have to have a love and dedication to it. You do have to have those things combined with the experience of running a studio like this, which might not be easy to come by. It's hard to find people who have love and knowledge of Star Wars, well, just as I said, and can run a big company. This is someone who needs to know how long a lightsaber is and how you charge it. How many executives know the answer to those questions? Already, people around the entertainment business are offering up their predictions for who gets drafted in a galaxy far, far away. They include Jon Favreau, who oversees The Mandalorian on Disney Plus and has experienced helming blockbusters like Iron Man, as well as Dave Filoni, Lucasfilm's chief creative officer. So let me just get this straight. Dave Filoni, the guy who has had creative oversight on every project that's come out in the last 5 years, some of the worst projects that have ever come out in the history of fucking Star Wars, including the Kenobi series, including the Acolyte, including all these things. Yeah, him. I know there's still some hangers-on, some people who still believe in the myth that Dave Filoni is the fucking queer savior of Star Wars. He is not, and he never fucking was. Just want to put that out there. Others who could be on a wish list are Harry Potter producer David Heyman and Legendary Entertainment's Mary Parent, who oversees the Dune and Godzilla franchises. One top agent suggests Peter Rice, who is fired by Bob Chapek in a widely panned move, as a possible fit. As an exec, he helped develop X-Men, and his relationship with top actors and writer-directors, his overall taste would re-energize everybody. Plus, he's got great relationships at Disney. Some on the creative side might not want the headache that comes with being an exec. And this is something I've talked about for a while. I don't know Jon Favreau. I don't know what goes on inside his head, anything like that. But to me, Favreau has always seemed like somebody who wants to create and wants to make things, as opposed to be the person that oversees other people making those things in a way. Because that's the role you'd be stepping into, right? And I kind of feel the same way. Like, Filoni has almost no experience making these things, period. He's just getting started when it comes to making live action shows and making movies. He has virtually no experience in this. So I don't know if that makes sense from that perspective either. If you're a creative person, do you want to be running a multi-billion-dollar company? It's a different job. You're further and further removed from creativity. Producers aren't necessarily great executives. But would Lucasfilm take a page from DC and pair a creative type with a producer who speaks Wall Streetese like James Gunn and Peter Safran? That thinking could make Favreau and Filoni the perfect combination. And they go on and say, Kathleen Kennedy's been berated by Star Wars fans, and it's not fair. How dare you? It's a tough challenge. To give her due, Kathleen had an extraordinarily difficult challenge. How do you take over George Lucas's baby? She did it and stayed for 13 years. There are very few franchises that have survived that long. Here's the thing you have to ask yourself, okay? If in this 13-year time period, if Disney had done literally nothing with Star Wars, would it be in a better or worse place than today? I think unequivocally, the answer is it would be in a better place. If they had not done a goddamn thing with Star Wars for 13 years, and they made an announcement today, hey guys, we're coming out with a new Star Wars project. We think you guys are going to love it. Would there be more or less excitement than there is right now? I think that question is very obvious. So no, I don't think you have to give her due. I don't think you'd say, wow, it was a really tough challenge, but she did it and she was there for 13 years. She fucking helped destroy Star Wars. It's not just her. A lot of other people, a lot of these other creators were very involved in the destruction of Star Wars, like Dave Filoni, okay? But she is the one that presides over all of this. And Indiana Jones. Let's not forget Indiana fucking Jones, by the way. So no, I don't think you have to give her due for destroying an entire fucking franchise. But they go on and compare it to other things like the Harry Potter franchise and James Bond and Marvel and things like that. But here's where we are. You have the biggest, most reputable trade sources, right, in the entertainment industry, Variety, Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, all talking about the report that Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down. This is a lot different from a lot of the other reports we've had in recent years that have just been made up bullshit for people to get clicks and continue to hope grift off things. That doesn't mean that this is happening. I will believe it when I see it, when I see an official announcement from Disney or Lucasfilm that, hey guys, we're celebrating Kathleen Kennedy. We're sending her off. She's done such a great job, because that's what this will be. This will be a send-off. This will be a thank you. This will be a celebration of Kathleen Kennedy, which is why if and when this does happen eventually, because she will finally step away when she gets old enough, like maybe now, they're going to celebrate her. They're not firing her. It's not because they disagree with her vision. We need to go a new direction. No, they supported her every step of the fucking way. And if she was removed tomorrow from Lucasfilm, Disney Star Wars would still be destroyed, and the people who are currently working there, they took part in its fucking destruction. So as funny as it is, I don't really think that this one report, if it even comes to pass, is cause for celebration.